this is our first science fair, so I wanted to make sure that everybody didn't have any questions and didn't feel overwhelmed and just kind of knew what we were looking for, since we haven't done this here before. Most of my students have said, I've seen it in the movies, so we're going to try to recreate that a little. The science fair is going to be a great opportunity for your students to kind of explore their own interests in the science field. What do they like? Instead of necessarily what we're having to learn in class, they can pick any topic that they want. There's a lot of different categories that they can choose from. On the front of your handout, I have kind of the information you're going to want to refer back to at home, all in the front. And we'll get to where they can select their topic, because I think that's where most kids are going to have the most questions for you guys. So what we do want to make sure with this science fair, though, is that they are doing an investigation, an experiment where they're trying to answer a question, not just something that's demonstrative, so that they're kind of walking through the scientific process, which is going to relate back to things that we have to teach them in the class as well. Okay, so they're getting some extra experience with that. So, like I said, they can do anything that they want as far as topic-wise, as far as questions. Anything that they interest them, that's where you're going to want to start having those conversations with them. Well, what are you interested in? What are your hobbies? What do you want to do? And we can pretty much go from there. Like Crystal was saying, I want to use my Army men. There's a ton of things we could do with Army men. So anything that they want to do, okay? They can integrate across the classes as well, so a lot of the teachers here are going to be able to help and answer some questions, because not only is this going to help them with their science skills, but there will be some research involved, there'll be some writing involved, and there'll be some math involved. They're going to have to collect some sort of a number and put it into a graph, and so all of the teachers here are aware of the science fair and can help in different areas with your students as well. Okay? So there's lots of benefits to them when it comes to actually participating and getting some extra practice with all of those skills that I just mentioned. So where does that support and stuff come in? Well, the first step in your science fair project is actually planning it out. Okay, so that's where their teachers can help them find a topic and kind of help with that plan. That's where I can help as well, any questions that you have. So, the students are going to be primarily responsible for the work. We do want to make sure that the students are performing the experiments and collecting the data, and that their teachers and their parents are there to support them through the process, but it is going to be primarily their responsibility. Okay? It is going to be an outside of school project, so although your teachers will be going through like the scientific method in class, the actual projects and experiments will be performed on their own time. Okay. So teachers are going to be helping in the classroom by walking through the scientific method with them. And we met this week, and many of the teachers are also going to be doing a class project with their students to kind of show them the scientific process. There as a class, they'll pick a question and they'll come up with a hypothesis for what they're doing. They'll collect data and then they'll analyze that data. And although they're doing that as class time with their students over a topic they're learning, that's also going to help their students who chose to participate in the science fair actually see what we're expecting of them to do on their own at home. Does that make sense? So there's also some handouts that your teachers have that can help them if your students are stuck or have questions at certain steps throughout the process. Their classroom science teachers will be able to answer that as well, okay, and give them additional resources to help them through that. So parents, we're just looking for you to encourage your students to participate and to keep going, because sometimes in any experiment they can get stuck a little bit, or maybe it doesn't go right the first time and we have to redo things. So just help them keep going and search for those questions or go to the right people. Again, their science teachers are going to be their number one help in answering their questions, and then I'm always available as well. We're also going to need parents to actually help supervise with the safety elements of performing experiments at home and make sure our little ones are not, using unsafe practices. We do want to make sure that we see what they're doing. And of course, we would love parent support in actually coming to the science fair and seeing all the hard work and praising them for participating and going above and beyond, out of their way to learn on their own. So, what do the students need to do? Well, they're going to go through the 6 steps of the scientific method. Your science teachers have posters of this they'll be posting in their classroom, and again, they'll be walking through these with you. They have handouts that you can have. These steps are also in the information packet for you, and we'll kind of walk through this together as well. So, step 1, and in my opinion, the hardest step in the actual science fair process here is asking a question, okay? So this is where there is the one stipulation. You can do anything you want, but it has to go through this process. So we've all kind of heard of the famous volcano science fair project, right? That's not exactly what we're looking for at this science fair, because that's more of a demonstration. It's saying, hey, look what I can do, and that's great. But we're trying to kind of amp that up just a smidge, okay? And so maybe you want to see what combination in your volcano gets the biggest eruption. We can take that volcano that you really want to do and actually put it into that scientific method by asking a question. Does that make sense? And then comparing the results of that. So this is really the foundation of the project. What is the question? What's the topic that you're wanting to do? So here are some examples of questions that are testable questions. So, and it can be over anything that you want. Like I think I put one up here about bubble gum. Okay, that might be for a more elementary student. Which flavor of bubble gum lasts the longest? Okay, so that's a question that they could answer. We also have some over animals. Does music have an effect on animal behavior? So you could play music for an animal and see how they behave that day, and then you would not play music when you get home and see how they behave and compare in that way. But you're asking a question, you're setting up an experiment, you're testing it, collecting some sort of data. Most data will be numbers, but it doesn't always have to be. Okay, it could be a survey that you make or something like that. But a question that you can test. Always remember to include safety in your questions. We want to make sure that our questions are not, can I blow up my kitchen? Not safe, okay? So, how do you pick a good question? I have on the front of your packets, I put a link to, it's called Topic Selection Wizard by Science Buddies, and you can go in there and there's a short survey. Let me show you really quick. So this is what it looks like, and you can go and click up here and you can search by area of science that you're interested in, if it's physical or life or engineering. There's all these different topics underneath here. Behavioral. You can also go in and search by grade level. So you can find questions that are more grade level appropriate if you're struggling with that. So this is a great place to start if you know you want to do a project but you don't know where to start. Okay? So this would be my recommendation for that. There's also, if you go to the Topic Selection Wizard, you can fill out a short survey, and that survey is going to ask you questions. It's going to ask you what grade are you in. It's going to ask you what your hobbies are and what your interests are, and then it'll pull up a list catered to you specifically, grade level and topic all in one. So this would be a great resource that I have posted, and we can also post a link to that on the website as well. And your teachers have a QR code that they can send out through Remind as well that can get you there if you're struggling to find the website, but the link is on there. So, questions about any of that? Okay, so once you have your topic picked, for our upper grade levels, we're going to be judging in 3 different categories. So grades 3 through 5 will be in a category competing, and we'll do first, second, third for those grades. Then we'll have 6 through 8 that are in a judging category, and then we'll have 9 through 12. So your student will be competing against their peers. It's not going to be a 3rd grader competing against a senior. Okay, there's different expectations when we get there. So as far as background research, grades 3 through 5, we're not expecting there to be a whole background paper or anything like that. The only thing that I would encourage as far as the littles would be, you do want to kind of do a little bit of Googling just so that you can come up with your hypothesis. What do you think is going to happen? Okay, we do want you to have a prediction. Now, your prediction doesn't have to be correct because you're going to learn something at the end of it no matter what. But you do want to have a little bit of knowledge about your topic so that you can say, hey, I think this is going to happen. And then you do your test and you see if your hypothesis was correct or not. Does that make sense? Okay. Grades 6 and up, we will be looking for that background paragraph on your poster boards with some sources saying, this is what I learned about my topic before I did it. Okay? So there will be a little bit of writing when it comes to that, but when I say writing, I mean a paragraph. We're not looking for research papers. Okay. You will have to construct a hypothesis. Your teachers do have a handout with this that can help them write that sentence for it. It'll be in an if-then statement is what we call it. So it's like, if I do this, then I think this is what's going to happen. Okay? So like, if I use these 3 different rubber bands, I think this rubber band will launch my Army man farthest across the room. Does that make sense? Okay. So they do have handouts for this, and your teachers can walk through that with them and give them paper and kind of help them form those sentences so that they can start their actual experiment. So after they have picked a topic, they've come up with their hypothesis, what they think is going to happen, then it becomes time for them to test that hypothesis. So they're going to have to come up with some experiment. Okay, how are you going to figure out an answer to your question? Okay, and that's going to involve some sort of data collection, like you're measuring something, or you're asking a survey question to people and getting a response. And so we are going to ask that they have different variables, meaning that they're changing one thing in their experiment. Like the one I just said with the rubber bands. They're going to just change the type of rubber band. Everything else would remain the same. They would use the same Army man. They would use the same ruler to measure. And your science teachers will help you walk through those variables as well. They have handouts, and they're going to show you how to do that with their class experiments as well. Okay? Then you actually do the experiment once you figure out how your plan is, and after you're done, you're going to show us on your pretty display boards what you found out, okay? And that's usually going to look like some sort of a graph, any type of graph, line graph, bar graph, pie chart, okay? The more pictures, the better, so that we can actually see what you did. So parents, this would be something that you would be involved in while your student is out there performing their experiment. You might be snapping pictures, and then you can print those out to put on your boards as part of your data and your analysis as well, so that we can see what you actually did. And this is what I mean by project boards when I said that before. So this is how you're going to communicate your experiment on the gallery night, okay? So you've done all of these things, you've put in all of this hard work, and you're going to show us what you did. And this is in your handout as well, so you can have that as a guide. The only thing that would change between elementary and high school is you're not going to have this area here, okay? For the 3 through 5th grade, we're not expecting you to have that background research, okay? You would have your purpose, which is your question and your hypothesis. What did you find out? And your conclusion. What do you think? Okay? And then in the middle, you're showing us what materials you used, your charts, your data table, your pictures, all of that. Okay? And now sometimes you might actually want to bring in some of the supplies or materials that you use to sit around your board and make it more visually interesting, however you want to do that. Okay? At this point, this setup is going to be in the old ag shop. We'll have tables set out, and those tables will be arranged into the judging categories that I told you about. So we'll have an area for 3rd through 5th grade. We'll also kind of arrange those based off of topic. So we'll try to group all the life science ones together if we have more than one, so that you can see those categories as well. And this is what we'll be coming up to look at the end. So in conclusion, these are all of the important dates. These are the same dates that are on the science fair flyer that's been posted online and is posted around the school. So we're doing our information meeting tonight. This is everything that's after that. So a week from tomorrow, which is January 20th, the applications are due. We have a Google form for that. So middle school and high schoolers are really familiar with Google Forms. They can probably fill that out themselves. And I will be sending links to all middle school and high schoolers to send that out. The link to the Google form will also be posted on our school website, so you can find it. And parents of elementary students, you're probably going to want to help them fill out that form. And that's going to be due by the 20th at 4 p.m. That way we can figure out how many people are going to be involved, how many tables we need, start the setting up of that process as well. And we can also, at that point, have a little bit of time if you submit the form and we need to kind of have conversations about refining your questions and helping you with those variables and stuff like that. We have time to do that before and still give you plenty of time to actually perform your experiment. Okay, so that's why the applications are due pretty soon. Okay, because, yes ma'am.
Will you allow duplicates or no duplicates? So
Meaning?
first come, whoever turns in their application first gets to do that particular project, so there are no duplicates?
Correct. So if somebody has the same exact project, the person who submits second, we would respond back and say, this question has already been posed, please resubmit. Exactly. I don't know if that is actually going to be an issue at this point, having the exact same one. We might be able to just tweak it a little bit and have them be a little bit different, but in that case, that is true. The other thing is, the questions that I've been getting is, we will be allowing group projects to be submitted. So if you want to do a project with another student, that's acceptable. The only thing is that group must all be in the same judging category. So if you're going to do one with another student, it would need to be from the grades 3 through 5 or 6 through 8, 9 through 12. We couldn't have an 8th grader doing a project with a freshman because they would be in 2 different judging categories. Does that make sense? Okay. So the setup, the actual project boards to be displayed will be needed to be brought to the school February 23rd and 24th. The February 23rd is a Thursday and we have school that day. February 24th is actually a flex Friday. So I'll be here and people can come and bring their projects anytime those 2 days and set them up. And we'll have named spots on the tables, so when you do come with your projects, you'll know where to set it up. Okay. And then judging is actually going to happen the following Monday during the school day. And then that night, Monday the 27th from 6 to 7:30 is going to be our big community involvement gallery night. Everybody come in, see what the students have done, and the winners will be announced at that point as well. Okay? After that, we're going to have class tours. So the science fair is for grades 3 and up to actually enter, but this is where all of our students will get a chance to participate in the science fair, so pre-K through Second grade will have class tours. They'll come through, be able to ask questions and be involved and interact with the students who did submit. That way it's preparing them for when they can do their projects themselves. And the upper grades will be allowed to go through as well. So, and then we'll have pickup days to come and get your projects after all the class tours are done as well. So, any questions about timeline? No? Okay. So, I think I said that. We will be doing top 3 projects for each grade. So, first, second, and third place in all of those judging categories. And the judges will be, we'll have a judge from each kind of category here too, so that it's all fair. We'll have a student, we'll have a faculty member, a staff member, and we're also working on trying to get a Tarleton professor to come and be a 4th judge. Somebody who's completely doesn't know anyone. So we'll have all 4 of those be our judges, and they will have judging forms. So it's not just, they're not just going to walk around and say this one's pretty. They will have judging forms that have a out of 35 points, and whoever has the highest average points will be our first, and then second and third. Okay. So, any questions at all about what I have? Yes, sir.
So like, we can't go through upper grades, but like say, I'm in Miss Hardy's class and I can do one with Miss Fowler's class, but I have to be in the same grade with that student I want to participate with.
Correct. Yeah, they don't have to be in your same exact class, they just have to be in the grades of the judging category. So you could even do one with a 4th grade student.
Okay, so could you also like not have one, but just have a big piece of paper where it would be showing some stuff, but and not like having that big board?
So we're not going to say the board has to be a trifold board, but it does have to have all of the requirements for the project board that we had, and it is going to have to be something that can be displayed some way. Okay?
Okay.